Thank you, everybody, for joining our presentation today, titled Paths to Florida Product Approval. My name is Derek Silva. I'll be moderating the webinar. And just before we officially get started, I want to mention a couple things. Number one, keep in mind that all the callers have joined in today with your phone lines automatically on mute, which helps to keep any additional interference down for our presenter. And since they are muted, we just ask that if you have questions to please go ahead and type them into the question box, which you can find on the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. I believe the presentation is going to be right around 45 minutes today, so we should still have time at the end for Q&A. And then lastly, note that we are recording today's webinar, and a PDF of the slides and a link to the recording will be emailed out to all of the attendees following the presentation. It might just take us a couple days to get it formatted and posted online and all that, but we'll email it out to the address that you used when you registered for the webinar. So, okay, on we go. Our presenter today is Tanya Dolby, fresh with all of her audio working correctly, which is great. And I know Tanya's going to do a brief introduction, so without any further delay, I will hand the controls over to her. So Tanya, we're ready when you are.
I am ready. Thank you very much for the introduction there. One thing I do want to mention even before I get started is that I have had a head and chest cold / virus for a couple of weeks. I am still recovering from that. Occasionally, I will have to cough, hopefully not very often. So just bear with me. If I suddenly mute myself, it will be very temporary and I will return. Hopefully, it will be not happen, but just in case, I wanted to give you a heads up, just in case. So let me go ahead and get started. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. The topic of this webinar will be Paths to Florida Product Approval. I conducted a prior webinar in August that touched on product approvals, Miami-Dade NOAs, CDIs. This one is specifically focused on Florida product approvals and how you get there, the different ways you can achieve a Florida product approval. And let me make sure. Okay. The agenda for today is shown on the screen. I will talk about the Florida Administrative Code. I will touch on the Florida Product Approval Code compliance methods, Intertech support of those compliance methods. I'll share document examples, our fee schedule for the different certification methods, and references. This is my bio. I have been in the industry and the business for over 32 years now. I have experience with engineering analysis, product development, testing and certification of products. I'm currently the manager of our engineering services group. And within that role, the team focuses on providing project-specific calculations for installations on buildings. And also, we develop test proposals for clients to certify their products to meet various codes and standards. I have a PE license in several states, including Virginia, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Maryland, and North Carolina. And I participate in various industry-related organization committees for ASTM, FGIA, and the Aluminum Association. This is a reminder that Intertech is an ATIC company. We provide assurance, testing, inspection, and certification. Number one, the Florida Administrative Code and Florida Administrative Register. Rule 61G20-3. And this is the beginning. This is where all of the codes, where the rules reside. Do you ever ask yourself, why is this required? Where does this come from? Who made up these rules? Why do I have to do things this way? Well, this is why. It is per this code, this administrative code. And later on, at the very end, I'll provide a link to this code, but you can see there's a lot of content. There are 16 sections within this code, and everything is laid out exactly how and why things are the way they are. So the next screen, I just created a little bit larger view of those sections, and you can see the chapters are scope, definitions, exceptions. I'm not going to read every single one of these, but each section it is very relevant. There's a lot of dense language, but it does tell you exactly why and provides all the rules of product approval. So I'm going to, in the next couple of screens, draw your attention to some of the content in particular, but you can see each section, like 008, approval of evaluation entities, product evaluation, validation entities, testing laboratories, certification agencies, quality assurance agencies, and accreditation bodies. So those are the rules for all of those entities. I do want to highlight section 001, which is the scope. The products in these categories are defined by subcategories of subsection 002-33. These are basically the categories in the product approval: panel walls, exterior doors, roofing products, skylights, windows, shutters, structural components, and impact protective systems. Each of those have several subcategories. Depending on what your product is, it will need to fall within one of these categories and a subcategory. For example, panel walls. There are several subcategories to panel walls. Those cover things like storefronts, curtain walls, and other products. Another chapter that I want to touch on a little more in depth. I'm not going to do this for every single chapter. There were just a couple of things I wanted to bring your attention to so you are aware of it. In chapter 005, this is a product evaluation and quality assurance for state approval. Method 1. So this is method 1, and I'm going to go forward and then I'm going to come back. There's also a method 2. So method 2, I just want you to be aware of it. I'm not going to go into a huge focus on method 2, but it is there, and it is something that Intertech can support as well. What I'm going to be focused primarily on during this presentation is method 1, and the different methods. You'll see A, B, C, and D that are listed. A is a certification marker listing, B is a test report, C is an evaluation report from an approved product evaluation entity, and D is an evaluation report from a Florida registered architect or licensed professional engineer. I'm going to be focusing primarily on those methods. And these are the two, the method 1 and the method 2, those are the ways you can apply for and achieve a Florida product approval. I'm just going to leave that up for a couple of seconds. You can see there is a method 2. This, what I've copied and pasted is directly from that code section. It explains it very well on all the content, but I'm not going to read through all of this. Just be aware that it is there. And the link that I provided in at the very end of this will open up these sections, and it would be available to read through it at your leisure. Another section that I wanted to touch bases on and bring awareness to is 006, and that is product validation by an approved validation entity for state approval. Notice this one is in parentheses 1, administrative validation. And on the next page, number 2, technical validation. So I'm just bringing to your attention there are 2 different validations, administrative and technical. The technical, again, I'm not going to read every single part, but a party who is providing validation, some of the things that they need to verify, they need to determine that the evaluator has complied with the acceptable standards of engineering principles. They verify that the evaluation complies with the code. They verify that the reported data demonstrates compliance with the Florida Building Code and that the correct test was performed. So those are just a couple of the items that a validator will go through and review and verify for that application. In section 2, I'm going to touch more on the Florida Product Approval Code compliance methods. And again, I mentioned method 1, options A, B, C, and D. I will be focused on those. So this is just a graphic of achieving the Florida product approval per method 1 and your different options. On the Florida product approval website, organizations must be registered in the Florida product approval system. I've given you a screenshot of what that looks like on their website over to the right-hand side. And you can see if you go in and do a search on an organization, these are the categories that are available. So you can register as an architect or engineer, a product accreditation body, a product certification agency, a product evaluation entity, product manufacturer, product quality assurance entity, product testing laboratory, and a product validation entity. So in order to be within the Florida product approval system, you do have to be registered and within one of these categories. This is a screenshot of what you see when you go into the product approval and you are going to apply for a new product approval within the Florida system. This is what you're going to see. You'll have to select a building code version, the product manufacturer, which again, this is a pull down list. When you select that, it will go to the registered manufacturers, and that's where you will select the company that this product approval is for, the manufacturer. You'll also select the manufacturer's technical representative, the manufacturer's in-house QA program, a category, and a subcategory for the product. Down below, you will see that there is a select the product's code compliance method. Those are the 4 methods: the certification mark or listing, the test report, evaluation report from a Florida registered architect or licensed Florida PE, or an evaluation report from a product evaluation entity. You will select one of those. And depending on which selection, that will take you to the next screen within the application process. And then you will fill out specific information and links depending on the method. The one thing I did want to bring your attention to on this screen, if you notice beside of each compliance method, there's the red need help ? Those are very good references. It opens up a link to user documentation or instructions for each option. And those take you through the whole process for each of those step by step. On the next screens, I've just copied and pasted. I'm providing a view of the first 3 pages of each document. So this is what your Method 1 Option A instructions look like. And you can see it provides step-by-step and information about what is required and how to do it. So this is Method 1. This one is Method 1 Option B for the test report method. Method 1 Option C for an evaluation report from a product evaluation entity. Method 1 Option D for an evaluation report from a Florida architect or engineer. So that's what opens up a PDF file for each of those, depending. And again, step-by-step instructions takes you through the whole process. When you start the application, I just wanted to highlight the fields that are going to be required so everything could be prepared and you know what they mean. So first of all, the application type, the code version. Under the product manufacturer, there's quite a lot of information that will be required. So, and again, this has to be part of the registration process for the manufacturer. The name of the manufacturer is required, address, phone number, a person, authorized signature, an authorized signature for a name and an email, a technical representative for the manufacturer, name, address, phone number, email. The authorized signature and the technical representative may be the same person. In addition to that, a quality assurance representative for the manufacturer, who at that manufacturing company is responsible for the quality assurance program, their name, address, phone number, email. Also, when you select a category, that's selected from a pull-down menu, and those are those several categories that I listed off on an earlier screen. Subcategory, again, selected from a pull-down, depending on what that category is. your compliance method. Method 1, A, B, C, or D. Quality assurance agency is selected from a pull down. Certification agency selected from a pull down. Validated by selected from a pull down. Certificate of independence, that's an upload. Reference standards and Euro standard, that is depending on the product and what is tested. Equivalence of product standards, that's an upload document and may or may not be required depending on your application. The summary of product standards, this is where the documents live, basically, and it varies depending on the compliance method. So what you're going to see at the bottom of the screen, and I do hope to share with you at the end of this, if we don't run out of time, I'd like to go into the Florida system and just share those views with you. But there'll be a Florida number that's generated within the system. Depending on the product, there will be a model, number, or name, description of the product, the certification agency certificate, quality assurance contract, expiration date, installation instructions, test reports, evaluation reports. So those are some of the categories and the information that would be required for a Florida product approval. And let me go back real quick. You'll notice I have some of these highlighted. Those are the requirements that Intertek can support, that we can provide a program or a document to support these requirements within the Florida system. Section 3, I'm going to provide more information on Intertek support of those compliance methods. So for option A, certification, mark, or listing, within those applications are requirements for a certification agency and a validation entity. And Intertek can provide both of those requirements. For the certification agency, it's a certificate, certification agency certificate. And what that is a product listing report. And I'm going to show you in an upcoming slide examples of each of these examples or submittal options. I will show you examples of each as we're moving forward through this. So I will share with you an example of a product listing report. On the validation entity, if you are signed up and you go with a certification, mark, or listing through the Intertek testing service, then that we can also act as the validation entity for that option. The other thing I want to mention on that option is the note in red. So expedited approvals, 10 days from submission of the application. So 10 days from the time that the application is submitted, the approval is supposed to be in the approved state. And that's it's referencing a rule 61G 20-3.007, Rule 1D. On option B for test report, some of the requirements. First of all, you have to have a test lab, a quality assurance entity, validation entity, and document. So for the testing lab, of course, Intertek can act in that area. We can do all the testing. Also for the quality assurance entity, provide the quality assurance inspection program. For the documents, if a certificate of independence is required, then we can, and most of the time it is, we can issue a statement letter to cover that requirement. And of course, copies of the test reports themselves are uploaded into the application as part of the documents. I do want to note that the installation instructions, that is usually provided by the manufacturer for the product. And the note in red at the upper right-hand corner, those approvals go through per the Florida Building Code Commission Committee meeting scheduled, which is typically every 2 months. So depending on in the code cycle of when that application is submitted, there is a deadline for it to be approved within that cycle. But every 2 months is when those meetings occur, and your application will be reviewed within that. Or if it's past the deadline, then it would be in the next code cycle. Option C is the evaluation report from a product evaluation entity. Again, this is on the expedited approval if it's within 10 days from the submission of the application. So this evaluation report requires an evaluation entity, a quality assurance entity, a validation entity, and the evaluation report. Intertek provides services for all of those categories, and I have provided some more information on a couple of them. The quality assurance entity, that is the quality assurance inspection program through Intertek. And I want to bring your attention to the evaluation report can be provided 2 ways: through a code compliant research report, a CCRR, or through a Florida Building Code report, a FBCR. I'm going to show examples of both of those coming up. Option D is the evaluation report from a Florida architect or engineer. And the approvals for that method is, again, according to the Florida Building Commission Committee meetings that are scheduled every 2 months. And again, Intertek can provide support for that method in a couple of ways. Through the Quality Assurance Inspection Program, we can also provide support. I don't explicitly state this on this slide, but the previous webinar that was conducted back in August was very specific toward this option, and we can provide support through developing a test plan, doing all the coordination for the Florida architect, the Florida professional engineer to do the work for the submittal method. So some document examples. I mentioned earlier, I'm going to show examples of a listing report, a CCRR, and an FBCR, as well as an example of the Product One Method D evaluation report by a Florida PE. I do want to mention that these records are available out there. They're nothing that are hidden. They're on the Florida website and readily available to the public. So the ones I'm going to show you are just one example of each that are available out there. So this is an example of a product listing report, and you can see this is provided for reference. It is subject to change. It is what is currently out there at this certain day, and it shows you the product. It lists out the test standards that a product is tested to. It will show sizes. This one has max overall size, width and height, what the rating is, and configuration and other information for that particular one. So depending on the product, this could change. This is just an example of what a listing report looks like. Option B, I did not get examples to share because honestly, the documents are too large. There's too many pages, but hopefully you all have seen at some time a test report. And you know, test reports can be very large, but that test report is what is uploaded for the option B test report. There may also be installation instructions that are provided by the manufacturer for their product. And typically, there are test drawings that go along with the test report that are uploaded. Sometimes they're part of the test report, and sometimes they may be a separate document. But I just didn't show examples because it would be way too large, too many pages. But they are out there and readily available to go and open one up and take a look at it. And hopefully, again, I'll be able to take you and share that with you. This is an example of option C, a code compliance research report, CCRR. And you can see this report has several different sections. There's the scope of the evaluation, statement of compliance. There's a section on installation, supporting evidence, the code information. There could be tables. It depends on what the product is. And that will basically drive what the content is going to be for each. But this is a good example, and you can see it's a very nice, clean, organized report. And this is an example of a Florida Building Code report, an FBCR. And these are specifically geared toward, focused on the Florida Building Code and what a product that has been tested complies, how it complies to the Florida Building Code. So it will list the scope of the evaluation, the statement of compliance, the description, the performance characteristics, the conditions of use, supporting evidence, identification, other codes. You can see there are, as part of the code report, there may be the drawings of the products and isometric, the section views, the profiles, connection details, etc. Option D, this is an example of an evaluation report from a Florida architect or engineer example. So this is a very good example of an evaluation report. This is basically a summary of the product and what has been tested, what it is, what has been tested, and it just gives general information, a general summary for that product. The parts that are typically in option D, an evaluation report, and a set of installation instructions. So those documents are basically, they have required content. So what you'll see if you go in and look at several examples, you'll find some common content. You'll see notes. You will see elevations. You will see section details, horizontal details and vertical details. You may see glazing details, glazing charts, anchor details, anchor charts. There could also be mullion charts. I chose a smaller product approval installation instruction to share with you. Some of them can be 20, 30 pages, depending on the product and the complexity of that product. So this is a very nice example of a shorter product approval installation instructions. Next, I'm going to share with you the fee schedule for certification. These documents can be provided. They can be forwarded to anyone who requests them. So I'm not going to go through every single line item. I'm just going to share with you what they look like, these fee schedules, and let you know that they are available. So the first one is for the product listing report and the code compliance research report. This is the fee schedule. It will go into effect 1/1/2023. We do have a current effective fee schedule, but I wanted to just go ahead and share with you because it's fast approaching 1/1/2023. This is what's going to be in effect at that time. This is the FBCR fee schedule. And again, this is going to be going into effect on 1/1/23. I do want to mention that each of these is broken down by a new listing, a new CCRR, a revision to that listing or CCRR, and an annual renewal of the CCRR and other services. On the FBCR, there's information for a new FBCR, a revision, the maintenance, and verification testing if it's required. For the Quality Assurance Inspection Program, this is the fee schedule, again, effective on 1/1/2023. And this one also provides information on a new listing, what it takes to enroll into the Intertek Quality Assurance Program, and what is required to maintain that your enrollment in that program. So there are fees associated to enroll, and then annually moving forward to stay enrolled. And then if there are revisions moving forward to your enrollment, then there is a fee associated for those revisions. I do want to mention that I do not have a document for the Method 1 Option D. that is something that is being worked on and will be available in the coming weeks. But that would be for things like planning a test plan to meet code requirements, doing our support of those certification methods for a Florida PE. So all of that will be laid out. I just don't have that document to share yet, but it will be available coming up. Notes and references. Quite a bit of information in here. So CCRR and FBCR reports can apply to high velocity hurricane zones as long as the testing, listing, and evaluation is in compliance with those HVHZ requirements. Florida product approvals using the FBCR reports require renewal according to that code adoption cycle, which is every 3 years. The CCRR reports require an annual renewal within the Intertek system every year. And that's due to more code requirements need to be reviewed annually to be sure everything is still in compliance for that CCRR report. So a review and a renewal within the Intertek system is required every year. But then the Florida product approval itself is renewed per every code adoption cycle. So that's every 3 years. The Florida product approvals, they're renewed every code adoption cycle with 3 basic application type options: an affirmation. That's just saying there were no changes to the material or any other substantive changes. There may be an editorial change, or there could be a revision, and that revision is something that results in a material change or to the performance of that product. So that is more substantive type of change, and it is required to be a revision. I did note that Florida product approval, they can be revised at any time within that code cycle with a revision application. So if you already have a Florida product approval and something changes materially or performance for that product, then that product approval should be revised with a revision application. The installation instructions, if they are part of the product approval, they should reference the applicable Florida Building Code sections and be prepared by a third party or verified by the certification/evaluation entity. This is a reference to something I mentioned earlier. I had conducted a webinar back earlier a few months ago, and that was on hurricane standards, testing, and product approvals. I did provide a link to that webinar if you haven't seen it. This provides much more information for that option D, and we can provide support for option D, again, by developing test plans, coordinating third-party professional engineering, coordinating those product approval submittals, and providing the quality assurance. Contacts. So for option A and C, contacts are shown there for a couple of different people. Options B or D is myself, and emails are shown and names are shown. Links. I have provided links to that Florida Administrative Code and the Florida Administrative Register. Florida product approval, Florida building code, and also the programs in the Intertech website that provide information. First, the certification services, the code compliance research report link, the product listing report, the FBCR report, the quality assurance program, and at the very bottom, I share a link for the help desk. If there's any questions and you need help with something, you can always submit the question to the help desk, and it will get routed to the appropriate party. I'm going to come back to this and see if some of these links, I'm keeping an eye on the time. We have almost 10 minutes left. Let me go back up. I just want to share a couple of things. Hopefully this will open. And it worked. So when you click on that link, this is what's going to open up. And I just want to show you how you can go through, how you maneuver through this. So it opens up to this chapter. And this is basically the whole chapter 3. And each of those have the subsections. So if you click on this link, I'm just going to go at random, select one of these. I'll show you what happens. You click on that. It will show you if there have been some rulings, first of all, and you can look at those down here. Then you click up here where it says View Rule. It'll do a file. Click that, and it is opening up. I'm going to pull this over, show you what that looks like. So it opens up basically a Word document for that section. So you can see there's a lot of content, but it is available for anyone to go and open that up and read through it. You know, these provide a lot of information of all of those rules, all of those sections. And I just wanted to make you aware that that is available. Let me see if this one, so this is the Florida website. Is that open? When you go to the Florida website, this is going to be your view. You'll see that there are a couple of different options: Florida building code, product, and then the third button down is product approval. So here is, you click on the product approval, it will open up this menu. I showed you earlier, find the organization type. So this is where you can go and search and find, if you want to verify a product quality assurance entity, these are the options that are available. So Intertech Quality Assurance is one of the options for a product quality assurance entity. Let me go back. Looks like it is churning, and oh boy, I need to wrap this up and give at least a minute or two for. It looks like it's just churning on that for some reason. There it goes. There it goes. Let me just. You can also, I will mention, you can go and find a product application. You can search according to application type, according to compliance method, category, subcategory. So you can search for something out there just by selecting. Okay. very quick, this is the last thing I'm going to share. I want to open this up just to show you what this website looks like. So this is a building product certification services. That link will just open up this website and provide this information. And each other link will also open up more similar, but more specific content for each of those that are listed. So I'm going to stop talking and open it up and let someone ask any questions if there are any questions at this time.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
We do have a couple questions, and I'll just remind folks, I'm not sure where your screen went. I think we just moved, now we can see your screen background. I don't know if you want to put one of your slides up there or something for...
let me reshare that. Sorry about that.
Okay. Nope, that's okay.
There we go.
Okay, so just let me remind folks that we are recording this, and we'll send out the link to the recording and to the slides. So I know there were a lot of slides at the end that had a lot of links and contact information and stuff like that. So we'll definitely get that out to everybody as a PDF, so you'll have all of those links, including the link to the prior webinar that Tanya was referring to. So we'll get that out in the next couple days. And also, if you have any additional questions, go ahead, put them into the question box in the module, the GoToWebinar module. So let me go ahead and ask some of the questions that are on here. Tanya, there was one that actually came in before the webinar, and I wanted to make sure that was asked and at least share it with everybody in case others have the same question. And it was, are the tests for Puerto Rico, or the standards or requirements for Puerto Rico, the same as Florida, or are they different?
Great question. So Puerto Rico, they have a adopted building code, and the requirements would be per their building code. Because I was lucky enough to get that question come in prior, I was able to go and take a look at Puerto Rico's building code. And in their building code, I wonder if I can just pull this over. I actually opened it up. Let me pull this over. So in ICC codes, all the way down, Puerto Rico, this is a view of their building code. So under building code, the short answer is very similar. Yeah. They require the same type of testing to be conducted for products. So the reason I found that is under Chapter 35, Reference Standards. And I was able to go and look and see that a lot of the same reference standards are adopted and listed. So, for example, I'm going to go here. AST, and this is under ASTM. Sorry, I scanned by that so quickly. ASTM E1996. That's the specification for performance of windows, curtain walls, doors, impacted by windborne debris and hurricane. So I noticed that a lot of the same content is required. So short answer, yes. And sorry, I got a little bit long-winded on that one.
No, that's
Anything
okay.
else?
Good. No, that's okay. Next question. How do the local building officials get a copy of listing reports or code reports? Is that for us to I think it says to show. Is that for us to show, or do they contact Intertek for an official copy?
They download it directly from the Florida product approval website. They are all there and readily available, depending on what the product, the manufacturer. They can just go to the website. Anyone can go to that website and view and download listing report, CCRR, whatever's out there. It's open and available.
Okay. The next question, they said, once we've obtained an FPA, do we need to apply a label or a sticker on the product? And if so, what information should be displayed on the labels?
Well, the Florida Building Code lists out the specific requirements that are required to be listed on a label. Yes, labels are required for most of the products. Things like the manufacturer, I'm just going to list off a couple of items. The manufacturer, you may need to list out the product rating, the sizes. It just really depends on what you're going for and what code section applies and what it is, basically. But the information is shown within the code. And I do want to back up really quick to the last question about listing report. Those can also be downloaded from the Intertek website. I do want to mention that. So all of the listing reports, CCRR and FBCR reports, are also listed on the Intertek website, as well as on the Florida website. So sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Seems like as people need them, they definitely have the options to get them. A couple more questions here. I know we're right at the top of the hour, but let's see if we can get a couple more questions in. Is it possible for a non-U.S. company to go through this process? Yes, it is. It is possible for a non-U.S. company to test and get their product within the Florida product approval system. Okay, and I'll follow up with that. Just as my own question here, I guess, would be: is the process exactly the same for a non-U.S. company?
As long as they are within the Florida product approval system, they go through the same processes. They apply as a manufacturer. All of their information is in there and listed. Then yes, the process is the same, and the information that is part of the requirement for the approval is the same.
Okay. Next question. Does it happen often, or is there a risk that the review committee does not follow an engineering evaluation on transferability and additional testing would be required?
It can happen. It can happen where, as part of the product approval application, you can basically apply, have all of your documents uploaded, and absolutely someone at the Florida level, as part of their review before it's approved, they could have questions. They could require something in addition to what's already been completed before that approval can be actually put into the approved state. So it can happen, yes.
Okay, and last one I have on here, unless anybody has another one or two, we've got a couple more minutes maybe. How do I know which option my product would need?
Well, the good thing is it's your choice and what you want to do, how you want to do it. There are different paths that you can go depending on what you want for your product. The simplest, most straightforward is a test report method, but there are some limitations for that. If you're okay with that, then that may be your best option. But if you want to flesh out a evaluation report that can be submitted as part of as part of an application for your product as proof that it meets the requirements, then, you know, an evaluation report with a CCRR or an FBCR or an evaluation report and those documents may be the better option for you. So it depends on what you want, how you want your product to be listed and shown and submitted to the authorities having jurisdiction for that project.
Okay, why don't we'll wrap that up with the questions, and just Tanya, last chance. Any parting comments or last things that you want to convey before we wrap up? I know that your presentation was very thorough, but any parting things that you want to say?
No, just thank you all for attending. Again, I hope this information was very informative and would be useful. Please go into when the information is available to you and sent to you, go and explore, look at the links, open them up, take a look around, see what's out there. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me or to the other contacts that were provided, depending on what you are interested in. We're very happy to answer any questions and provide more information if you request it.
Okay, that's a perfect closing. Well, Tanya, thank you again for your time and your presentation today. And for those that were watching, thank you guys for your time. We'll get the slides online, make it available to everybody, get the recording to you. And that concludes today's webinar. So again, thank you all for your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day.